We're pleased to have Kath Connor, Greens candidate for the upcoming federal election for Robertson. Welcome, Kath.
Thank you.
Who is Kath Connor and why should people on the Central Coast vote for you?
Well, I've been living with and working on the Central Coast with my family now for 26 years. Very much feel part of the community, and I've worked in across various sectors. I've been a social worker in child and family health and in the community sector. I've run Tai Chi classes, been an instructor. I've been run a community choir, Booty Voice, with Christina Sainsbury, and I've been a full-time carer for my elderly father, and I've also been a bush carer and regenerator for the last 12 years in my local community. So that's a bit about who I am, and I guess why people might vote for me is that I'm representing the Greens, and the Greens are a group with a clear set of policies that are available for anybody to look at any time. So in voting for me, you know that you're getting a team member, you're getting my skills and experience, but you're also getting the skills and experience of the wealth of a vast number of people. The Greens policy is driven from the ground up. It comes from the community. It's not, we don't take donations from corporations or big businesses or lobby groups or any of those things, so that our policy is about what we believe is best for the community.
Do people in Robertson have anything to fear about the return of a coalition government?
Well, I think we all have something to fear. I'm personally terrified by the idea of climate change, not the idea of climate change, but the fact that it is happening now. And we are seeing what the scientists have been telling us will happen. We're seeing that happening now. We've just had the hottest summer on the Central Coast. We've had the hottest January recorded. We can't afford not to take action, and the Liberal National Party are not interested in climate change.
How would the Greens tackle climate change?
Well, we have quite an ambitious plan. We have a plan called Australia 2030, Renew Australia 2030, and that's about phasing out of coal, fossil fuels, gas by 2030. Lots of people are saying, oh, it's not possible, it's difficult to do, what about this, that and the other? It is possible to do. We are very far behind other countries. And it seems to me that we can let the people in boardrooms around from multinational corporations make decisions about what happens by deciding, this is no longer profitable, so we get out of it, we just close things down without reference to the communities which depend on our current coal industries, for example. Or we can plan the government can plan on our behalf to have an orderly transition out of fossil fuels and towards a renewable economy that can be just as productive as the one we have now.
Coal-fired power represents something like 85% of current energy generation, though. Can renewables genuinely replace that amount in just 11 years?
Yes, they can. Yes, they can. And that's where the planning is involved. And there's a number of things that we would do. We would have a transition fund, a $1 billion transition fund. One of the things that needs to happen is that there is assessment of where do we need to upgrade the grid, where do we need to develop storage capacity, where and how much, so that these things start to be planned for rather than just allowed to happen.
It's more likely, though, you'd have to negotiate an outcome with an ALP minority government. Richard Di Natale did describe the Labor's policy on emission reductions as fake action. Where's the gap and how would you cross that?
Well, there is a gap, and sadly I think it's, and this is partly why I'm with the Greens, I guess, this is, as I see it, a result of the Labor Party also taking donations from big coal, big mining interests, They have lobbyists that there's a revolving door with Labor as well as Liberal between these interests and the government and the opposition. And so they do find it difficult to look at what is in the best interests of our community.
The Greens want to phase out coal-fired power. At the
Yep.
same time, you're seeking to ban oil and gas exploration. But on your website, you talk about a key source of revenue for funding some of the expenditures being royalties or taxing on super profits of resource companies. Is there a contradiction there?
It sounds in that way, but we also are giving significant subsidies to all these companies at the moment, which that money can easily be returned without the subsidies. I think what we're looking for at the same time that we're phasing out coal is that we're developing new industries, one possibility is the hydrogen export industry, which would involve massive new development, new jobs, new investment, and would also, as an export industry, would also be generating revenues.
Kath, there's a lot of media reports about infighting within the Greens at the moment, and particularly there seems to be a bit of an ugly fight brewing between Jeremy Buckingham and Lee Rhiannon. And I think Bob Brown is reported at least to have referred to Lee Rhiannon as a team wrecker. What's your take on all of that, and how deep are the divides within the party?
Well, Jeremy Buckingham has left the party. He just stood at state election as an independent. It has been a nasty fight in lots of ways. I think though that the newspaper reporting jump on these things and like to make much more of them than probably the bulk of the party consider is the reality.
If you're successful and some of your colleagues are successful, you may be in a position where you have to work with either the Liberal National Coalition or the Labor Party in a minority government. The Liberal Party Scott Morrison's announced recently that he wants to put you last on his preference list, even below Pauline Hanson's One Nation. There's a fractious relationship with the Labor Party, and we've seen that in relation to climate change policy. Mm-hmm. How can people get comfort that the Greens can actually do that and that they can get a stable government? I can
assure you that we wouldn't be going into any sort of arrangement with the Liberal Party or with One Nation, for that matter. Clearly, I think we have to wait and see what comes out, because Labor obviously want to be able to govern on their own. That's their main objective.
One of the issues that's very important to people on the Central Coast is asylum seekers and offshore detention. Can you explain to us what the Greens' policy on that is?
Okay. The Greens would shut offshore detention facilities immediately. The offshore detention policy is intentionally cruel. It's ridiculously expensive. There are many better ways to deal with the issues of asylum seekers looking for a safe place and dignity and freedom than responding in the way that we have. We're spending huge amounts of money. It's something like, I think it's 56 times as much money to keep one person on Nauru as it is to have somebody on a bridging visa in the community.
Kath, what other key policy initiatives do the Greens have?
The one that I think is of particular relevance to the Central Coast is our housing policy. We believe that secure and affordable housing is a human right, because if people don't have that, then their health is affected, their ability to gain education, to participate in the workforce, all those things are impacted if you do not have secure accommodation. And we know that housing has been a major issue on the Central Coast. I think the amount of money that currently goes on credits for negative gearing and capital gains tax is something in the order of $5.8 billion a year. That's essentially subsidies to the more wealthy in our community. And for me, until we actually deal with those more vulnerable people in the community and meet their basic needs, we do ourselves, all of us, a disservice.
Kath Connor, thank you for talking with us today. We wish you very well in the upcoming election, as we do with all the candidates.
Yes.
So good luck.
Thank you.